Welcome to the Starting Over Podcast. I'm your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos, and this is a show where we look at the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of heroclix. Okay, I'm trying to record this before nephew time, and that's my personal goal for today. Had a interesting night out dancing. It's for some people, they might be saying, like, why do you keep bringing up your dancing stuff? Because you learn a lot about reading people and tempo. And not only that, you start to learn real quick that life is a meta game. It's just, do you understand that that's being played? And people try to shame you or do whatever else to tell you that it's not a game, but it has rules, it has interactions, there's mechanics that are broken, and there's stuff that's not fair. And so once you realize that, it makes it a lot, it makes life make a lot more sense. But anyway, I was out, and it was interesting that the dance club that I salsa at was packed. But it was packed, but there weren't that many people to dance with. And so once you start realizing that the amount of potential people for you to dance with are mainly in pairs already, then trying to establish somebody to dance with consistently, or a diversity of people to dance with, becomes quite difficult. And so it's sort of inspired today's show, which is when you're trying to seek diversity, why do we always end up back at those same typical spots? Or, like, for example, in the club, you make a lot of female friends as a guy in the club so that you can have dances later on in the future. Okay. That's why some ladies don't act like complete dogs to most guys if they like to dance, because their main goal is to make sure that they, when they go out, they have somebody to dance with, and it's not just their girlfriends. So the main reason that this came up was for another reason too. It's I end up having conversations about, quote unquote, the meta. And what ended up happening is it's like, oh, okay, so we play this with this. And so I'm thinking, like, okay, well, yeah, that's good. Then we always play that with that. And then it's like, do we always have to play that with that? And that's, in that moment, it sort of got me that when I looked at, rock results and other tournament play, people always played these two figures together. They were always arriving to the club together, paired off. And I started asking myself a couple of questions. I'm like, well, is that the most optimal way? Now, for many of us, we would say, like, yes, if something has always been paired together or at least been paired together for a while, it is the most optimal way, because if it wasn't, we would have found something else. And that's not really true. Okay. That's not really true. And even more so when we're looking at the circumstances behind our different teams or different builds. What happens is, because we want a temporary field gap, we'll put two things together. So up until recently, the number 1 and 2 examples of this was Despotelis and Adara, and Atomica and Adara. All right. Now, why did people do that? Well, they paired it just because. Why do I have a 19 or 20 defense? Yeah, defended to everybody. Why am I doing that? Just because. That's what we do, Edward. Didn't you know? They always come together, they're in this nice, hueish glow, and they're always, doing the two-step. So no one ever questions saying, like, well, what if we did something else? So if we look at it, it's like saying like, hey, all right, well, uh, Adara and Despotellis, they brought, I mean, not Adara, Despotellis, Adara and Adara and Despotellis broke up. They're no longer together. They're not a couple anymore. They split. It was a respectable decision. It's just the circumstance didn't work with them anymore. Now Adara is out there on the dance floor looking for somebody else, to hang out with and snuggle up with and all that stuff. Okay, so doing a little peacocking, little strut here and there. People throwing bird seed in the air, making it rain, all that other fun stuff. So what are we looking at? What can we pair Adara up with now? Now I know folks have been, even on the quarry, who were like, Adara is destined to be, on the sidelines for a bit. But then I started thinking, I'm like, okay, well, let's start asking us some different questions. Let's start asking some different questions. Let's start saying like, all right, where are your other, high defenses? And then you start saying like, well, they're on expensive characters. Well, if they're on expensive characters, wouldn't you be more likely to get more clicks of 19 and 18 defense? Well, then the answer is yes. Well, for most people, the problem kicks in is that they want their main attacker to be attacking and not defending. Well, and so there's a design or mindset problem that kicks in. Okay. And that is, people will then say like, oh, okay, since I want my main attacker attacking, they can't do something like support. Okay. I mean, not like support, or like defend. Okay. So we have a false dichotomy. Just because your figure uses defend does not stop it from being a offensive attacker. Okay? So let me repeat that one more time. Just because a figure uses defend, it does not stop it from being an offensive attacker. Okay? So when we sort of like step back, I was playing around with a couple of cool ideas, and then I said to myself, I'm like, all right, well, if I can get, a decent defense, then I won't have to worry about, as many things. I can have a character come in with it. Let's just say an 18. Let's just say an 18. And if I have an 18 for a couple of clicks, is that better? So that means that if I take a hit, would I still be in a good position? So what we're going to do is just, I'm going to type in 18 here. Defense value greater than 18 on first click. Okay. And you can do it too. You can type in on whatever site it is, defense greater than 18 or greater. So then we can see some shifts. Okay. We can see some shifts. All right. Actually, I need to change that. Also, damage type needs to be starburst. Yeah, starburst. That makes it a lot easier. So that way you filter out your colossals, because there's a lot of colossals that have huge defenses. And for some reason, Firefox is not liking me right now. All right, so here we go. Let's just look at some fun characters before we get serious. All right, so we have Apocalypse, from WizKids, con exclusive, the old Apocalypse. So he's, 10 attack, 10 movement stealth, 18 defense, mastermind. It's not bad. We also have that super Wolverine, the vampire Wolverine, when he heals all the way up, has an 18 defense, So that's also cool, but we have to build to that. We're not starting on that. We're starting on a 17. All right. Gladiator, prize support Gladiator. He starts with an 18 at 300 points, and he has it for 2 clicks. So that's not bad. Let's look at Dormammu. Dormammu at 300 points gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clicks of 18. That's pretty good. He has damage reduction with impervious and whatnot. All right. So that's pretty nice. Let's move on down. Look at the new Ghost Rider. New Ghost Rider has an 18D for 2 clicks. Okay. So that's okay. All right, so Iron Ale 18D, Namor 18D from Nick Fury Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Modem has an 18D. And let's just sort of skip through here. Ragnarok 18D. Captain Marvel, who has Defend, he doesn't need to necessarily use it, but he has an 18 defense. Proxima Midnight 18 defense starting off. So let's go over to DC, and can't use those. Actually, World's Finest Power Girl, you could, if you just use the Power Girl attachment, you would be able to attach an entity because they don't have the duo symbol. So you have 18. You have 1 click of 18. Composite Superman is a no because that's only at 300. Coriander is interesting because you have technically 3 clicks of 18, but they're sort of smattered about. So your opponent could potentially knock you onto an 18D. All right. So just having that to think about is very interesting. Brutal is the prime. Having him as a defender, considering how aggressive you are, and he has to be on the other side of the map. Other side of the field. So having an 18 defend up front with some guys, in front of him, that would be really great. It would give him defensive options as well as him providing defensive support. Okay, so he's going to have an actual character wall, and then he's making sure that if his character wall is like weak, like a bunch of little pogs, that they're pushed up, sort of like, I was about to say something, now I realize I can't. If they're pushed up like certain garments, that's the best way I can do it. Then it accents everything a little bit better. All right. Then we could keep looking, and we can see that we have a lot of interesting setups, because even more so, all right, we have Brainiac. Brainiac has 2 clicks of 18 just up front. So does that mean that he's going to be a great defender? Maybe not. Steppenwolf is great because he starts off with 1 click of 19 and an 18, an 18, and an 18. So he has 3 clicks of 18 and a 19 defense up front with Invincible in phasing. So we're back, and we're like, wow, this is actually pretty good. Now, one character that I think a lot of people might have overlooked recently, definitely considering, gosh, I just didn't like the Fast Forces overall. And that is Green Lantern from the Fast Forces, Alan Scott. He has a Green Lantern TA. He has an 18 defend, I mean, sorry, he has 18 defense, energy shield deflection. And if you give him a Dara, now he has a defend. Now, all his little pogs and little fodder now has an 18 defense. So it brings them up to being respectable. Okay. So this figure right here solves your issue about carrying multiple figures. You're able to do whatever you need to do. And you're able to run a shot with your nice little Green Lantern bubble. Plus, you have leadership, and you could take tokens off of anybody that you're carrying. So, if we start asking ourselves this question, the club is packed. There's a lot of people paired off. Okay, who else is there to dance with? And really, are the people that are paired off always going to be dancing with each other? Okay, and I know, again, some people might say like awkward, like I don't really hang out in such places, and that's cool. But I'm just trying to put it into like a real world application so that it can translate into the lesson a little bit better. Okay. All right, so that's just with the Dar, and I know the main reason sort of Dar has been on my mind is because I ended up playing her last night for Clicks and with a team that's still in like my people at my venue said was like that was a tough team, and I mean I can sort of see what they meant, but I didn't think it was perfected yet. I didn't think I didn't think it was like at its best. And that's not necessarily insulting them like, yeah, I beat you with my weak stuff, but it's just more of, for me personally, I didn't feel like I got everything that I needed to get out of it. So I'm not even going to throw that tech out there because it's not done. That's the better way of putting it. That's man think. All right, so let's look at some other sort of concepts we can expand with that. Like I have a character that I use for training exercises with all of my new with my new students or with my new members to Phoenix Nest. And I always have them build around a figure that is contrary to their natural play style or is just weird and requires them to think. And most of the time, it revolves around one figure in particular that I always get the hums, the ha's, and the groans. And this one figure I feel is great for training up a person's creativity and their sense of understanding the game a little bit better and emphasizing placement. And that character is Alita from Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, this character is solid for a couple of reasons. One, when you play her, you can swap over to Nighthawk, but I usually ban people. I mean, not Nighthawk, Starhawk, but I usually ban people from doing that to really emphasize that you're playing with this character. Their other thing that kicks in is that she gives everybody that's adjacent to her energy shield deflection. Now, you might say, like, Dark Logo, so I get where you're going here now. Yeah. So she gives everybody that's adjacent to her energy shield deflection. She's really pricey. Like, really pricey. Like, if she was a date, you're not at Olive Garden. You know, you're on the Ritz type pricey, okay? That's the best way to look at it. And she has killer range and she has okay attack, but she doesn't have the greatest damage. She really doesn't have the greatest damage output. And that turns a lot of people off from playing her. But she has good keywords. She has Guardians of the Galaxy keyword, which I like because it allows you to do a bunch of different stuff with Mantis. Yeah. And it's bad when you're talking about it and you're like, I know so much about it, and then you lose it on the realms. And yeah, there it is, right under Yondu. Okay. So you're looking at her, and you're looking at her, and she's like, oh, she has a hypersonic speed and 10 attack, and then you get running shot pulse wave and range combat expert, but you got that 4 damage up front. Oh, wow, this is great. All right, now, I want you to take a step back. Let's sort of combine the Adara lesson with the Alita lesson, okay? And, usually, when I coach, I usually try to give people like the list of defensive options and sort of show about power stacking. Okay, so look at this. You have the solid light shield. Alita can use energy shield deflection and toughness. Adjacent friendly characters can use energy shield deflection. There's no keyword requirement. Okay, so there's a couple of cool things I can do. Let's just say I'm going to have Alita, and then I'm going to combine her. Okay, I'm going to combine her with Captain Marvel. Okay, so now I have a defend. Now I'm defending her up to an 18. Okay, she'll get +1 from Captain Marvel. That put her at a 19. Energy shield deflection will make her a 21 from range. Okay, now I've made her a 21 from range. Is that impossible to hit? No, it's not impossible to hit. Okay, I've made Captain Marvel a 20 from range. Is that impossible to hit? No, it's not impossible to hit. Now, what have I done by combining those two figures together? I've established to my opponent that I have a highly mobile non-flyer and I have a moderately mobile flyer. Wait, hold on. Let me make sure. Because Captain Marvel Prime, he sits in front of me, but yeah, he flies. Yeah, so Captain Marvel Prime flies. All right, so that puts me at 212. Right there, 212. Okay. So I have options when it comes to my team building. And I can still fill in points. But my opponent, just seeing those two things, if they're able to put 2 and 2 together and understand that I have made 4, okay, they're going to understand that they're going to have to hit me in some sort of melee capacity to negate a majority of my bonuses. But ask yourself this: how many heroclix players actually solidly and consistently put in a melee option? Not many, unless freaking Wes. Wes always does that. Teammate. And anyway, so because there isn't a melee option for most teams, add in a little barrier to eat up an attack from a lantern or whatever else, or from a round table, and bam, your opponent is pissed off-o. Okay, royally pissed off-o. Because where do most people design their teams around? Being able to shoot you from distance. Why? Because distance is a perception of safety. Okay, it's a perception of safety. And the reason I say it's a perception is that sometimes it is safe and sometimes it's not safe. The idea of range being generally safe is this false zeitgeist that comes in and says, if I shoot you from far off, you can't get to me, which isn't true. You can still get to you. All right. The idea is that the true idea is, I am hoping that by utilizing range, I am able to do more harms to you than you can to me before you bridge the range gap. Okay. Now, here's why that, again, the whole range thing's a false safety, is because if I have range and my opponent's is having range as well, once I institute or instigate a range interaction, they too will instigate a range interaction. So the real, what we have in between us is a dead man zone. in which both of our forces overlap. Okay. That's really what we have. Okay. So when we look at it like that, it makes things a lot more realistic and more complex, because now we're no longer looking at range as, oh, yay, range, I'm great. What we're looking at is, okay, range is a general concept that allows me to initiate, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to be free from harm. So anyway, going back, I'm at 212 points. I got this range. I pretty much have thoroughly stifled my opponent's range options. Now, I could come back and say, is there somebody that gives me combat reflexes? And I really could, but I don't think there is right now. I mean, just off the top of my head. Now, if I did that, what have I've pretty much overcommitted to an extent on defense, because I still have to hit. So I'm highly dependent on Captain Marvel doing what he does and doing it well. I don't have any willpower, so I'm not, if I start pushing, that eats into my defense advantage. So I can't really push, pressure my tempo too hard. So, anyway, what we can sort of take a step back and do is say, like, all right, well, my opponent is going to come into me. If my opponent comes to me in melee, can I have anything to discourage them from coming into melee? Well, yeah, I could pack a Despotellus. Well, hold up, wait. But Despotellus really doesn't benefit from my energy shield deflection or my defend. Oh, wow. All right, so Despotellus may not be the best option. All right, well, is there anybody else that I can sort of pair into this to make, either give me like willpower so I'm hypermobile, or even put something in there as, fodder or more guys or whatever else, or give me some sort of support option. So there are there's many ideas that you can sort of throw in there. You can put in a 50-point Ant-Man and then say, like, oh, look, shooting out, just keep shooting out ants as best as I can. More ants. All right, we're surrounded with ants. All right, there's ants all over our bodies. All right, we have ant armor now. All right, so we still have defend. Some of the ants have energy shield deflection. So, but the majority of the ants are technically a 19 defense with super senses. And the ants, if our opponents get too close, can poison. And the ants can sidestep so they can get out the way for us to make shots. Okay? And then after the shot is done, I can move and then put another ant down and then have it fill in the hole that the other ants left. Oh, wow. That allows me to have a tempo and then, still attack or literally swarm my opponent with, these little annoying little bastards that don't cost any points. So there we go. That's a nice little fill-in. All right. So we recognize what? How are we setting up? Well, Captain Marvel is doing what he does. And then I have Ant-Man to come in and generate ants for me. Is the tempo slow? The tempo is very slow. It's very, very slow. And the only reason I'm able to put this together like this is because I'm naturally defensive. Okay, I'm naturally defensive. I'm naturally controlling. And those two things, I'm like, oh yeah, Ant-Man, blah, 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 this, blah, 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 that. But also, I've trained using these figures in exercises for so long that it's like, blah, 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 this, blah, 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 that. All right, blah, 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 blah. Okay, a literally talking head. Okay. So, we right there, we have a nice little basis of 262. It's 262. Now, some people might say, I go ahead and put in a drone and then ID cards and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, you're good. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the greatest thing for you. like realistically. Just because you can play drones doesn't mean you should play drones. Just because, that's an option does not necessarily mean that it's the best option or the option you need to consider. So I'm just going to put that there. All right. So if I put in a drone, that would put me at 292, and then I would be able to put in one ID card. And now you could say, like, but then Dark Logos just drop the Ant-Man and put in, a drone and shove a bunch of ID cards in there or a round table, and then you're good. And it's like, well, does the round table give me what I need? Okay. So what have we established? We've established I can't push worth a darn. Okay. All right. That's a big thing. Okay. The fact that I can't push is a huge deal. All right. Except for Wasp when Hank Pym when he's morphing. He can morph into guys with willpower. And then morphing, considering all he's really doing is morphing, then he's not ever taking pushing damage. Okay. So where I'm looking at is where's my utility? Okay. Where's my utility, and what do I need to compensate for? So we're looking at my damage. I'm gotten 4 damage. I got some RCE. I get some energy shield deflection. I got some pulse wave, but I'm most likely not using pulse wave too much. I get some perplex with Alita too. Okay, great. All right, with Captain Marvel, I'm getting, some tempo control with Unibeam, some energy explosion. I got my Defend Humanity. I got all this cool stuff. All right, great. Well, so if I put a Green Lantern battery on there, I've taken my opponent sort of back a little bit. And you might be saying, well, how's that, Dark Logos? How have you taken your opponent back? Well, first off, I've established a couple of things. If you're going to use running shot, you're not using pulse wave. If you're using running shot, you're not using pulse wave because you're doing something as a free act. Or let me phrase it. If you're using running shot, you're not using perplex. You're doing charge. You're not getting in any, cool other stuff going on, So let me find this ring in the battery. Okay. So battery, and then the ring is super expensive, which I don't like. So now I'm at 272. So we're going to look at some Green Lantern constructs. We're going to look at constructs. So I have 28 points to put in 3 constructs. Well, considering that I have my defend is from Captain Marvel, but really a majority of my defense plus stats is coming from Alita, I want to make sure that Alita stays alive. She's already going to get range combat expert, so she doesn't really need it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give the decoy to Alita. Now, again, this does emphasize my defensive options a lot more. Okay. Then I can, take it, the next level is what is Ant-Man always doing? He's just always sort of chilling, and he needs to be able to do stuff even when he can't really be doing stuff. So we're going to do the wall construct. So he can move into place, throw up a wall, protect us from a Nick Fury, on an indoor map. These running shot Nick Furies are a trip. I really do gotta say, these running shot Nick Furies are a trip. Okay, so there we go. And then, since Captain Marvel is our main offensive cannon, let's just go ahead and give him the crossbow. Boom. Now, some of you might say, why didn't you give Captain Marvel the sniper rifle since his range is 6? And I mean, yeah, you could. You can swap the crossbow. Let's just do that for right now. You swap the crossbow for the sniper rifle. Okay. Now you've done that. You're at 294. You can throw in an ID card, and Bob's your uncle. All right, great. But, and here's my but, we're looking at this interaction. I got a Lita at 10 range. Do I really need to have Captain Marvel at a 10 range? And this is a solid question. Because as it stands, the ants defend us, are the bodyguards, as you know, you come in. And then the energy shield deflection and all this other stuff is there to protect from range. So I've got zoning from both. Okay, I've got a Green Lantern power battery that is initiating control to make it so that my opponent has to be very mindful with their free actions. And if they're not mindful with their free actions, then guess what? You've given me, a lot of control, like a whole lot of control. All right. So I've limited my opponent's free actions. I've limited their ranged options. I made melee not look that appetizing. You know, if you have any form of melee or have to come base with me, you don't have damage reduction, you're going to get poisoned. And even then, let's just say, you do have damage reduction. I just upgrade one of the ants into a giant ant, and he's just going to blade you. Or I can just morph and make sure that one of the ants has exploit weakness. Make sure the ants have exploit weakness. So I'm able to maximize my options if I want to. So even if all my guys are pushed, I can still attack with ants. Now, so wrapping a little bit this up, my tempo is slow because I have to ramp up to wait for my ants to sort of get into play, and with only one Ant-Man, I can't get a lot out. At the same time, my attack values are okay. They're not great. So I'm depending on poison to get over, and I'm also depending on that defend to keep my ants alive as I approach, and then tie up threatening pieces so that I can whittle them down. But if I fail to do any of that, if I fail to do any of that, then my team falls apart. So let's go back to the concept of the dance. All right. We always thought that defend was always with Adara. That, or even, let's just say it was always with Adara. Okay. But when we start saying, hey, those two are just friends dancing, they're not together, they're not a couple, then it makes us realize, like, oh, okay, defend can dance with other characters. Defend can dance with other pieces. Defend does not necessarily is not necessarily limited to this limited scope that I thought it was. Oh, I can go dance with defend. Okay. At the same time, there's other options that are out there in the meta that I believe that we still have the same sort of conclusion on, like, oh, they can only be with this figure, because I can't ever see them without being with that figure until, the almighty rules gods, decide to break them up, and it becomes a comedy of tragic form, So let's look at another area in which, let's look at another example of this with the pairing, and just to sort of expand our horizons a little bit, so that we can sort of understand, like, all right, this is what it is. Let's try, as my teaching training has taught me, to crystallize the concept. The best example that I can think of, this is more recent. Just because I've been on this trip, is Titano and Lois Lane. So I wanted to give you all an offensive example of this, because it truly is offensive. Titano has a trait built in with Lois Lane. any lowest lane, not just the one from the set, just any lowest lane. And you're able to pretty much move for free and attack for free if Lois did any of that stuff, which could allow Titano 2 attacks in a game. I mean, 2 attacks in a turn. And considering that Titano gets flurry as well, that can be silly because now you're talking about 3 attacks in a turn. Okay. So he can dump out a good amount of damage. So in a, I don't want to say a no tactics environment, in a no tactics that's not a rock, because Titano's banned in a no tactics without a rock. I mean, sorry, Titano's banned in rock limited. Sorry. Titano comes in at a nice 250. Then you play Lois, it's 290. Or you can even come in and play Titano at 200, and then Lois is 45, and then, okay. Then you can put in, not resources. You can, put in something else. A bunch of Henrys, okay. So, I'll get to that later because I actually sort of dumped that a little too early. So, I'm looking at, let's look at Titano at 200, and I'm like, okay, well, he moves up, okay, great. He can, run a shot, all right, great. And then after he running shots, he can shoot, you for possibly 4. And at a 10 attack, I was like, I'm not impressed. He's going to get beat up real quick, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I mainly was thinking about this because I was always on this like Titano plus Star Sapphire Battery plus awesome plus make your opponent puke regen blah blah blah. And again, the defensive part of me was like, make them regret playing range, make them regret playing the meta, let them cower in fear before the mighty monkey, all that. Okay. Watch it as their main attacker takes unnecessary clicks of damage and you kill their pulse waver and make them cry inside. Like there's all this going on. All right. So Titano has I just sort of noticed Titano has no willpower. He has no willpower, unlike the other Colossals that do. But I asked myself, all right, well, I got to get off this Star Sapphire crack, and then at the same time, I need to get off this Lois crack too. So, what can I do to get off of the Lois and the Star Sapphire crack? So I start asking myself some tough questions. I was like, all right, well, at 250, and then I was really looking at him at 250. At 250, what can I put in to make him a threat? And what would actually make him a threat? So I started playing around a little bit, and I remembered Henry, and I was like, monkey fight. And since I have 2 Henrys, I was like, well, that's 30 points. That's 280. That's 2 Henrys. And I can do that, and I can carry both of them because one's tiny, and then I just carry the other one like normal. And so once I realized that, I'm like, okay, so that one's tiny, and then the other one's normal, and then I charge. I'm 11-7. And I pick up a light object, not even my heavy object, and I'm doing 8 damage if I hit. And then it sort of dawned on me, like, aha, this is great. This is silly. This is something that I can see myself, running possibly. Okay. Then I asked myself, all right, well, that only gives me, that gives me 20 points. That gives me 20 points after, my Henry, my double Henrys. And so that's when I started looking around again. And I saw that Titano also can be played at 20 points. So then I was like, monkey theme, monkey theme, monkey theme. Unfortunately, the Henrys don't have keywords, so I can't get any, ATAs or anything like that. So I was able to just say, like, all right, here's another Titano, put him on the side. He can, super attack, and I'm at 250. The team is completely offensive. Completely offensive. It has nothing in it that says this is safe whatsoever. You get into your opponent's grill and you're like, hey, let me do your dental work with my fist mindset. Okay. And there are maps that, and don't get me wrong, there are maps that just completely hose this, like so bad. And definitely with certain team setups, like ranks with a lot of barrier. Yeah, this team just doesn't work. Okay. So let's sort of look at this then. If we're looking at these offensive options and we're saying to ourselves, all right, we're trying to get out of just seeing this figure in one light. Is this possible? So we start noticing, like, oh yeah, all right, cool. I've only looked at this defensively. I've only looked at its offensive options. I've only looked at its control options. I didn't look at anything else that, this piece did. And that's a lot of problems with heroclix play in general, is that many times we get caught up in one function of the figure that we forget what the other things that the figure can do. And it causes us to, for a lack of a better word, be short-sighted. Very short-sighted. So, I just want everybody sort of like, take a moment. And this is our mental exercise. Take a moment. Think about something that you've normally played, that you've played a lot of, okay? And I want you to ask yourself this. What would happen if I take these two figures I paired up a lot? What else would I pair it up with to do what and why? So if I break these figures apart and I had to pair them up with something else, what else am I trying to do? Who am I pairing it up with and why? Okay. So some folks said Despotellis is out the meta. Despotellis is not good anymore. Atomica, she's good because she can prod, but Despotellis, he was just good for defend. Well, let's really look at that. Like beforehand, what were people using Despotellis for? Poison. When Despotellis came out, Despotellis was a threat just for the fact that you had to hit a 20. You had to hit a 20 that could poison you. All right. So what happens if you just say, all right, I'm going to play Superman 2. I hate you so much, Superman 2. I hate you so much right now. Oh, you can tell I'm pushing myself because I brought up Superman 2. I'm living the lesson. Okay, I'm living the lesson. You have Superman 2, you have Despotellis, Lockjaw, and movie movie Black Widow. So let's go ahead and try to let's try to put that together real quick. Gonna go into the units here. Firefox. All right, here we go. Superman 2. Age of Ultron. Black Widow. Target exclusive. I got that. And Despo. Oh, this is actually turning out pretty good. Don't freeze up on me. Don't freeze up on me. All right. My browser just crashed. Okay. All right, let's go. Despotellis. All right, so Despotellis Black Widow, and Superman 2 is 260. All right, so I'm gonna, just for giggles. Yeah, yeah, let's just do this for giggles right now. Let me look at that Black Widow real quick. No. Okay, so for giggles, I'm going to attempt to make Superman 2 better. I'm I'm going to put oh gosh. Dang it, this hurts so bad. Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and for team building's sake, I never thought that this would be viable. I'm going to put Ion on Superman 2, and that gives me 15 points. Yeah, that gives me 15 points. So then it just seems to be Green Lantern Power Battery Day. I'm not going to lie. Actually, no, let me not do Ion. Let me do. I want to do Entity or Adara. Yes, Entity. All right, Entity. Get my Green Lantern Power Battery. Green Lantern Ring. Green Lantern Ring. All right, so I got 5 points. So I'm going to put the Bulldozer. All right, Bulldozer. All right, now, some of you might say, Dark Logos, this team is crappy. What's going on? All right, so what we've done is something major. All right, so this is how we do it. No. All right, so what does Superman 2 do? He has weight. That's not Superman, which we're not using that because it's crap. We all know it's crap. It's crap. But if we are using it, you could say like, oh, I can bring in a better Superman, which is 99.9% of the time. Gosh, that sucks to say. All right, so we're doing this, and I could have done a Blue Lantern, but I didn't think the points would work out. Which, come to look at it, it didn't. All right, so now I have this 6 range running shot. I can end cap. That's great. So I can, after I hit with the end cap, I can use it again as a free action targeting the same character. You can't ignore pushing damage. Yay! All right, so that's great. So I am able to running shot carrying Despotellis, get within a 1 square distance between me and my opponent. Boom, end cap you. Boom, end cap you again. Boom, you're taking damage. Outwit your force blast. So Despotellis is staying there. Okay. Then I have Black Widow come in, real close because I can carry her too. The following turn. End cap, pow, end cap, perplex up, my attack, end cap, pow, end cap again, pow. You're going to take that pushing damage, all right? All right, so now they're afraid because they got to deal with the fact of Despotellis. Who do I punch first? Despotellis or Black Widow or Superman 2? Okay, now Superman 2 has the entity, and Superman 2 can do a couple of cool things. First things first, since he has a bulldozer, he has willpower now, which so mad right now. Oh, anyway, so mad. Anyway, I'm able to pseudo heal up Black Widow if she takes any damage with the entity heal power. I also have access to prob up front, and then also have access to energy explosion, because they can't take everything away from you. They can't take everything away from you, Edward. Remember that. Remember that. Oh, gosh. Why? Why? Oh, gosh. Anyway, going back, you can also use barrier. You can use barrier. So that's awesome. So having access to barrier gives you another defensive option. The Green Lantern battery limits your free actions, your opponent's free actions. So what have I done? I've created a team with a lot of lockdown. And I'm doing damage, sort of like the other previous team, using poison with Despotellis instead of ants, okay? Then, what have I done with Despotellis? I've shown that Despotellis is still scary. I have a delivery mechanism with Superman 2. He's able to carry Despotellis and Black Widow. I have two characters that are able to see, they're both able to see through stealth. Then I have one stat modification with Perplex with Black Widow, and I also have Outwit with Superman 2 prop from Entity. So I have all my core powers, plus when I need to, I can shift over to the Entity heal, so then I have technically ghetto support. Okay? Now, unfortunately, whatever I roll on the battery is what I'm going to get, since I only have one construct. And then if also with that, if I just do a normal range combat attack, I can, this is sad, I can use Entity to up my damage to 3. And then Perplex up my damage to 4 using Black Widow. And hit my opponent for 4. So mad right now. So mad. Okay. So mad. So mad. This is wrong. This is so wrong. Why couldn't he get Cone Frost Breath? I'm pissed. But, go back. Crystallizing. All right. What's the drawbacks to this team? This team is very up in your face. It's very up in your face. It does not work at range. Yes, Superman 2 is a threat. And if someone does beat down Superman 2 really, really hard, okay, what sort of situation am I in? All right, let's sort of look at this. All right, so Superman 2 lined up with Entity. All right, so if I get mid-dial, like right when I line up for 1, 2, 3, 4, once I get a stop click on Entity, I get hypersonic speed. So since I get hypersonic speed, I can choose, do I want to stay on hypersonic speed or keep going? When I get to my last click, I have charged Super String 5 damage. I also have another stop click on Entity. So I can choose if I want to heal or keep fighting. Okay, so I have options. So I have regen, which is pretty cool. Plus, I also have quintessence. So I can't be outwitted. All right. In between there, I have access to prob. I still have access to incap. I have some barriers, some energy shield deflections, and other things like that. Things that could be sort of useful. So if I take some hits, Entity by far works out, really well. Probably better than Adara, just for things that I need with Superman 2. I had to abandon hope to hold on to life. If you get what I mean, type a 1 in the comments. All right. So there's that. Black Widow, she's not that deep. One easy Kamehameha and, she's out. That's easy. She can be killed real easy. Brutal. Any of the other Supermans. Anyway. And then my battery potentially can give me Perplex, another outwit, a prop, or support. Preferably, considering I'm only handing out one construct, I want to stay on support so I have a rally point. A rally point to go back to. So I don't really want to turn the dial. So if I take too much damage with Superman 2 or Black Widow, I can have Superman 2 pack up my entire team and roll on back. Now, you also might notice, too, that the Green Lantern power battery isn't good for Black Widow on the first half of her dial. Okay. On the second half of her dial, she could use it, but the first half of her dial, she really can't use it. So that puts us at sort of like a catch-22. Is this the best resource? But since we're only assigning the resource to Superman 2, just due to points, then this works out. Now, I know some people might say, well, get rid of the entity and put some other stuff in there and ID cards, blah, 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 blah. But if we look at the main goal of the team is to incapacitate Poison and deal pushing damage. That's it. It's a slow roll. But it's something that it doesn't matter how many points you have. You're going to have to deal with the reality of it. So let's just say your opponent is running a 2 attackers. Okay. And you're running this Superman, Black Widow, Despotel's team. All right. First off, if your opponent hypersonic speeds, they can't put up free barrier wall, throw out free net. Okay. Or use any number of other free actions that are possible during the turn. Okay, if they run a shot, they can't put up wall or anything else, which means that my opponent's options for defense, if they're getting it from a battery or whatever else, are very limited. So if they're getting it from a power, then they're having to spend a power action to get barrier, smoke cloud, stuff like that. Okay. The other element is, if you're incapped and have 2 tokens, what can't you do? Attack. And if you can't attack, what's the only thing you can do? Clear. What that also means that you're not doing? Moving. Pure and simple. Just pure and simple. Okay, so if my opponent's not attacking, then yeah, you could say like, oh, I put up free barrier now, Dark Logos. What do you do? What do you do? What do you do for a Klondike bar? Then it comes down to your placement of Despotelis, because if you put Despotelis in a front square and not on a diagonal square, or you could say north, south, east, west square and not a northeast, southeast, northwest, southwest square, then he can't put barrier to separate the two of you. All right, now your opponent tries hypersonic speed to do whatever else away. Guess what? Despotelis is a-coming, baby. Despotelis is a-coming. And if I'm picking Prob, then you have 2 turns that you have to try to hit a 22 times. I can outwit whatever I want if I can get line of fire to limit I might be able to even take away your Prob, or even, Despotelis, so your outwit to stop, Despotelis follow power or whatever. So while the team at first glance is like, this is a joke, it is a very complicated team for more advanced play. But it also is good for new players because it forces them to get out of perplex up damage, hit you for 18 damage. Now it's your turn. You have to start thinking of different ideas. Just like, bam. Okay, I gotta come up with this, bam. Come up with that, bam. Do this other thing, bam. I got this, bam, bam, bam. I'm Emerald Lagasse. Here is your lovely plate of heroclix. All right, well, that's today's show. I hope my escapades in dancing and pseudo dating has been beneficial to you, and you have learned something. I will also say I have gained some new insight and respect for Adara, because she gets around. She gets around. All right, so you can follow me on the Twitters at StartOverPod. It came from outer space and told me, man, you really need to clean up your play area. This looks horrible. It does. It looks straight horrible. I had all the stuff come in from Superman, Wonder Woman, and like this Wednesday, I literally had 6 boxes sitting outside of my mailbox. And it was just like, yay, my stuff is here. And it's like, wow, my stuff is here. I got a lot of stuff. Anyway, so you can follow all my random musings and all the interesting, cool stuff on Twitter. You can email me at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. That's startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. If you wish to opine, keep it piffy, keep it interesting, keep it awesome, baby. Tell me, what are you playing? What things are interesting right now? You can check out the blog, startingoverpodcast.blogspot.com. If you wish to donate to the show, everything goes back to the show. Also, what I'm going to do is this. You can type in the comments below. I'm debating between getting a PS4 and Fallout or upgrading my computer and graphics card. The argument, internal argument is I hardly play on my PS3, and my computer parts are at least 6 years old, pushing about 7. And I can write off the stuff for the computer. Now, people will be like, Dark Logos, get the computer parts. But the other part of me likes playing Fallout on the computer, on the console with my controller. And I don't know how to configure a controller yet for my computer and all the stuff that I need. So that's why I'm sort of in a bind. So I will take votes from Twitter and from the comments below. So I'll be making my decision in a week, because that's when the Black Friday sales will start popping off. So oh yeah, buy my shirt. Link in the description below. Buy my shirt. That's it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. And remember, we all got to start over sometime.